So I got a little story I want to tell you tonight. Pay attention. Alrighty, tonight we have Larry Gerard from the Rhode Island Taxpayers Association. He's got graphs and pictures, and frankly, after we reviewed them prior to the show here today, Rox and I had a collective like, why would you want to live here type of thing, and that's not really my style. We want to make it better, but sometimes you got to be frank about the data before you make it better. So we'll have Larry along in our guest segments, but I have some stuff I want to bring to you here. As part of the ongoing discussion of pension settlement. So first, let me go to the rundown. Quick move. See how quick Rox is tonight. Pension settlement is a scam. That's my theory. That's my song. That's my story. And that's what you got to hear tonight. This is an indication that you're going to get tolls. I can just feel it. You're going to get the tolls. You don't want the tolls, but you're going to get the tolls. This is an interesting what to do. I guess this is us getting tougher. And this is very exciting. At press time, I was 2 for 2 with a big win for the alma mater. Anyway, let us move along and sing a song and dig into those things that I'm thinking about on my state of mind. Pension settlement's a scam? Yeah. I tweeted that out at Dan Yorke's show today because I meant it. After I learned some things that really weren't, groundbreaking pieces of information. It's not like they're smoking guns, but they've been buried inside the entire discussion of the settlement. Here's the headline recently, today, reported problems, first round of voting on the settlement. This has been an ongoing saga for the rank and file of the unions here. There are 6 silos, I will call them, 6 separate union bodies that come together to form the settlement group, and all 6 of those silos, teachers, firefighters, police officers, and 3 other groups, have got to sign on at 50.1% to say, yeah, we like this settlement, for it then to be suggested to the General Assembly for a vote. And it's a 2-tiered settlement vote, and it's being handled like a class action lawsuit before it's ratified as a class action lawsuit, which means if they're running an election here, we've talked about this a couple of nights, it's a corrupt vote. It's corrupt on its face. The idea is that they'll send home packets to 24,000 people who are in these unions, and if they don't send anything back, it's a yes vote. In order to vote no, they have to send the thing back. And there's all sorts of problems that are systemically wrong with that, right? So that's got the rank and file very upset with their own union leadership, and they should be. But here's what I learned today. It's not in a headline. It's not in a story. This is your buddy Danny telling you exactly what's going on here. In this whole discussion of settlements and the police and fire silos, if you will, the Cranston Fire and Police Department have not signed on to the settlement agreement, which means that they continue to litigate on the very thing that was the original lawsuit, which is that the unions are contesting the constitutionality of whether our state General Assembly had the right to statutorily change the pension numbers. That the Cranston Fire and Police Department has not joined this group has not been discussed publicly in any reports anywhere. And frankly, Gina Raimondo and Governor Chafee, Gina Raimondo, who comes back to the pension board and says, by the way, I recommend this settlement. This, either she is being completely disingenuous, as is Governor Chafee, or they don't know. I don't know which is worse. But the Cranston Fire and Police Department not signing on to this settlement leaves them in a track to litigate the case anyway. So while there are only 250 members in that small group of Cranston Fire and Police Department, the courtroom's the same size and the arguments remain the same. So this idea that the settlement precludes a loss by the state on the issue of constitutionality is completely false, because the Cranston Fire Department and Police Department are continuing to have the lawsuit. More disingenuous, discombobulated, unfair to the taxpayers and rank and file conversation. No matter where you stand on what should or should not have been done with the pensions, that bit of information has been conveniently omitted in the public discussion, and it is outrageous, absolutely outrageous. By the way, I'm also hearing that there are a couple local police departments that are also peeling away, encouraging their members not to vote yes, meaning send in the no votes. So stay tuned, but some people got to answer to this debacle. It's absolutely outrageous, and you heard it here first. There is no unified settlement effort because there's no unified settlement in the courts right now, with Cranston still suing. All right, next item. Yeah. Here's the latest WPRI.com headline, I think. Yeah. Yeah, the Turnpike Authority approves this kind of toll hike deadline extension. I talked to you about this last night a little bit, but I just did a little thing on the radio today. Dan Yorke, weekdays noon to 3 on WPRO. And I said, you know what? A year ago, when I mentioned the tolls, the phones would ring off the hook for this bridge that I don't think is a bridge. It's Route 24 over a little tiny bit of water. And there's the big high-tech stuff that takes your tolls. I have deemed that the general population on the East Bay and Aquidneck Island, despite fervor from a few community leaders, you're all done, aren't you? They beat you down. Death by 1,000 slices or whatever, 1,000 cuts or whatever the term is. And when you guys lose your mojo, when you run out of gas, you get it driven right up your, you're getting the tolls. Unless you find new life. Just saying. Next item. Weird. How does this happen? Look at this headline and the picture of the house. This gentleman and his wife, his wife just passed away, had passed away a few years ago. This is really, really weird. This guy sent $24,000 over 10 years to the city of Providence for property taxes for his whole property, when only a little bit of his property is on the Providence or in the Providence city limits. He straddles Pawtucket and Providence, and he's been good on his taxes, but all of a sudden realized that after 10 years, he was being taxed by Providence for the whole property, while most of the property is in Pawtucket. And now he wants his money back. And I imagine I want my money back too. I guess if the city is looking for back taxes from you, they can only go 6 years back. So I guess it's equitable that he maybe gets 6 of his 10 years back, and if you pile on interest, maybe he gets close to his $24,000. He didn't talk to a reporter. I'd love to talk to him, so if you know him, I'm not going to name him on TV, that's not good form. But if you know him, I'd love to have him come in and explain to us how you went 10 years, even through a mortgage company, paying that much tax money and not knowing that you were getting overcharged. Caveat emptor. At the same time, the government ought to kick the check back. The city of Providence isn't that broke, is it? Next item. Really? Okay, if you say so. WallStreetJournal.com has the headline. We've got new penalties. I guess we're going to throw a bank and a couple of more oligarchs into the sanctions over the Crimean annexation. Here's the latest from Fox.
As Russian soldiers stepped up their patrols outside Ukrainian military bases in Crimea on Thursday, Ukrainian military personnel inside began packing up their personal effects, although there's no order to retreat just yet.
Nothing is really exact. We don't know anything. If there will be an order from the command to retreat, we will retreat.
Russian border guards have stepped up inspections of goods entering from Ukraine. Moscow has also begun issuing Russian passports to Crimea's residents. Still, administration critics continue to hammer the president, saying the United States is not doing enough to stop further Russian aggression.
What planet is the president on? Obviously, Putin feels he's in the position of strength.
Fox contributor, former Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, a little exasperated right there. A few more oligarchs and a bank. Okay, we'll see. I don't really feel like we have much to do here. You know, if this annexation effort goes past Crimea, I think that's when all heck breaks loose. But until such time, it looks like everyone's just kind of shrugging their shoulders and thinking, oh, well, what are you going to do? I think that's how the American people feel right now. There's no way we want to get heavily involved in this, what seems to be long historical conflict continuation between Ukrainians, Russians, and the mix. Now, it's the most important thing on Americans' minds this week and next week and the week after. March Madness is underway, and I just feel like exploiting the show and celebrating that the alma mater did very well today. You have no idea what it's like to be stupid enough not to take a day off on the day that your alma mater is in the tournament. Here's the last few seconds. We just scored to go 1-up. Here you go. Woo. Oh, thank God. Now, I'm watching that. I perfectly timed my break on the radio to be able to see that and at least scream bloody murder in live time. All of my buddies know that I'm a DVR fiend, but they all violated the DVR purposes, and I knew they would. So while my phone is texting off the hook and I'm talking about stuff that matters to you, I'm dying inside over this game. Excellent. At least PC will be in prime time. Of course, I got a problem there too, because we'll be calling the radio of the high school basketball championships on AM 790 WPRV tomorrow night from 6 to 8, and of course the PC plays at 7:30. But I have mastered multitasking, and that is what you have to do in March Madness. You have no idea how big it is in Ohio that Dayton beat Ohio State, at least in southwestern Ohio. And I had them, you know, in my for amusement only picks. All right, when we come back, let's examine what the Rhode Island taxpayers are saying about the current state of affairs here. They got lots of graphs and stuff, so take notes, pay attention. All righty, for some reason my guest doesn't think this is going to be an easy conversation. Hey, he's the one that's bringing all the numbers. Let me take a look at one of the charts first and I'll introduce. This is from the Rhode Island taxpayers, and it's a discussion of sales tax and corporate tax, which drives me crazy, by the way. I just sent my check for $500 to the state of Rhode Island for the company that I own, and I can't tell you how I seethe when I write that. But you can see highest in New England exceeds national average by 2%. That's the sales tax. And this little note there, it encourages Rhode Island to purchase, people to leave Rhode Island to purchase items. Larry Gerard is the Rhode Island taxpayers. Tell us about, welcome. Tell us about the organization so everybody knows.
Well, we were founded in 2003. We were initially called the Rhode Island Statewide Shoreline Coalition, and that was mostly in Westerly. And then it morphed into the Rhode Island Statewide Coalition in 2006. And then we to deal with more statewide issues, and then we called ourselves the Rhode Island Taxpayers, which is what we're dealing with right now.
Okay, so you have a platform that you're introducing that you want candidates to sign on to?
We hope so. We're going to endorse statewide candidates this year, and we hope that they'll align with many of the items that are on our platform.
All right, well, so I want to talk about Larry's, the Rhode Island Taxpayers platform and Larry's thoughts on it, but the way we should get to it is some of the data that he has supplied in order to come to your consensus as to what ought to be done. So let's walk through them. We just showed you one of them. Let me show another one here. This is called deviation, and some of you with smaller screens might have a little bit of difficulty with this, but some of you with bigger screens, get out of your easy chair and go up and walk up and see this. Tell me what this thing means.
This is a really important chart, because what I did was we took a lot of national studies of how Rhode Island ranks against other states and plotted them on a standard deviation curve. For example, if Rhode Island is last in business friendliness, we were way over to the left. And what happens is that as you look at all these different studies, Rhode Island continually is placed 49th, 50th, and so on. So when you begin to look at Rhode Island from a competitive standpoint, Rhode Island doesn't look very good, both nationally and regionally. And regionally, I'm talking about in the Northeast, the New England states plus New York.
And so there's all sorts of categories. Worst states for retaillees, last in business friendliness, 49th most stressed state, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, and if you look at the one that's over on the right, which is on welfare, we're the 6th highest state in the country with respect to welfare benefits. And I have an arrow going to the left, because really that's a liability to a state where we're fiscally challenged right now. So it's difficult to have extensive welfare benefits and still do all the other things we need to do.
All right, so let's take that one down, Rox. Thanks. You know what we'll do? You've got a website, I'm sure, where you can put all this stuff is available, which is, what is the website? Did we put that up?
RITaxpayer.com.
There you go.
Right.
How quick is everybody around here?
You guys are good.
They're all good. I'm not good. The whole crew is good here. Next slide is kind of interesting. This is...
All right, this was a presentation that was given by a fellow named John Kennedy, who is the Senior Vice President of CVS. And he gave a presentation to the legislature, or some of the legislators last week, and this is on Capitol TV. And what he was presenting was what are the cornerstones that CVS looks at when they're investing in a state. And the 4 pillars were fiscal stability, cost of doing business, quality of the workforce, and infrastructure. And if you look at the buildup underneath each one, he went over each one of those. Not how Rhode Island was doing compared to that, but this is just what they look for. And if you look at all those 13 items in green, the only one that I believe that Rhode Island does really well is digital infrastructure. I think they have a pretty good area there, but all the others we don't fare very well. And I think for most companies we want companies to come here. We want people to move here. You know, this is a gorgeous state. I mean, I was raised here.
I'm not so sure. You know, after all the years of speaking about this, I'm not so sure that there's a built-in non-productive, leave us alone, don't move here type of thing that's either running through the constituency or the leadership. Because everyone says all this, but no one's doing anything to make it happen.
Well, when I say a beautiful state, I'm talking about from the quality of life standpoint. Forget about the money part of it.
We all agree.
We all agree with that.
Do we want to kind of keep it as our own and not grow it
No,
for
because we
everybody
can't
else?
afford to keep it as our own. We can't afford it.
There's the point. Now, when we come back, Larry's put together a report card. You may want a shot of whiskey before you take a look at this whole thing, because after you look at it, you got to be in a better mood. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Yeah, that's the State House. We always put up that B-roll, but that's kind of where all these decisions are made. Larry Gerard is with the Rhode Island Taxpayers, which has been a group which has been named a whole bunch of different things, but serves a very important purpose. We'll talk about its effectiveness in a little bit in a second, but talking about effectiveness. Now, did you rip this off? Because this is not your own work.
This is Mike Stenhouse's summary of some studies.
You know Stenhouse, Rhode Island Center for Freedom and Prosperity. All right, you ready? Everyone, there we go. Put this up. All
right.
Even Rox let out a yell when she looked at this.
What Mike did on this is he took 53 national studies and of all states, and the total summary of the ranking for Rhode Island was this, and you can see the marks here. And the question that I ask an audience if I'm giving a talk is, if your child came home with that report card, what would you do? And that's the thing that I think, from my perspective, is the most concern for Rhode Island, because if economic development or Commerce RI are going to go out, and one of the charters is to go out and attract businesses here, it's going to be difficult to attract businesses with that report card. More importantly, Dan, the businesses that we have here in Rhode Island have to work under that environment. And that's why it's so difficult. If business doesn't thrive in an economy, you can't have a sustainable economy. And we make it, of all the states in the country, we are ranked last in business friendliness. So that's a problem that we have.
All of that, and Larry's a consultant to business in his real job, than this volunteer type of stuff, which is important. Yeah, so what does that now mean for the people running for office and what you want them to sign on for? What kind of platform are you putting together?
We have what I believe is a very comprehensive platform, because we haven't heard many leaders yet talk about a platform. We haven't heard many leaders talk about a strategic position for the state of Rhode Island and how we compete both in New England and regionally. And until we start to bring the argument and the debate up to that point, how do you rationalize these kind of marks for our state? We talk about the Sakonnet Bridge, and you talked about that, I think, today on your radio show.
People are out of gas. They're going to get the tolls.
You want to talk about something emotional? Talk about the Sakonnet Bridge, but that's a tactical thing. That's not a strategic thing. And so if we don't bring the debate up to the strategic level with regard...
Well, give me an example. Give me something tangible. What do you want somebody who's running for office to be able to say that passes your litmus tests?
We would like to see tax reform. Either reduce the sales tax a little bit. Mike Stenhouse has been talking about that. We really believe in eliminating the estate tax. Do you have any idea how much the estate tax is as a percentage or as a part of the overall $8.2 billion budget that we have? It's $32 million.
Yeah.
Yet we drive people. You keep hearing that people leave for 6 months and a day. Well, what do we lose when we do that? We lose our intellectual property. We lose the ability of our leaders who leave to mentor businesses and help mentor government. Now, when I talk about mentor government, just take Carl Waddenston as a good example. He has a big example of potholes right now. He's trying to help our government with a pothole situation. He's giving them a vibrator. And only half so far of the mayors have taken advantage of that.
Okay, so
those
do you have
is
it a composite, or is it there's no one big idea?
There's no one big. I mean, there's tax reform.
I'm dying for the big idea.
There is no big idea, Dan. It's a plan that's comprehensive across a lot of different things. The line item veto for the governor is really important because we don't have a balance of government in the state of Rhode Island. The master lever. reform, business reform, as far as regulation reform. We had a person by the name of Leslie Tato that was running the Office of Regulatory Reform. She now left to go into the private sector, and they were making some real progress there. Going into lean government. There's a lot of waste in government. The Department of Environmental Management, I don't know if you know this, has been doing a lean program for the last year and a half. It's been fairly successful.
All right, some people,
and those kind of things.
Here's what a few people watching the show are going
don't
to
know
say
what
right
lean
now.
is,
You know
right?
what can they say? They say, how come this guy's not running? He's pretty sharp. Why aren't you running? You're pretty sharp.
I have a business to run.
Oh, one of those types.
No, but I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm doing.
yeah.
I'm,
Like the Dan Yorke show, trying to make a living while we're trying to make better
a living,
change.
right.
You know, it's always a challenge. All right, so ritaxpayers.org.com, is that what it is?
.com.
.com. All of this list of stuff is on that site.
Correct.
All right, so we're going to run out of time here. Do me a favor, come back often during the campaign season so we can keep talking about these items in specific.
Great.
And
Love
I can
to.
argue you more about the idea that there should be a big idea, at least
Okay.
identifiable. All right, good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry, appreciate it. When we come back, your state of mind, stay with us. You really ought to think about this, Rhode-IslandTaxpayers.com. Larry left me a brochure, and it says, our mission to provide independent, nonpartisan advocacy for honest, effective, fiscally sound government on behalf of Rhode Island individuals and business taxpayers. Makes sense to me. Here's how you can tell us what makes sense to you. 228-1886, the voicemail. stateofmind@myritv.com is the email, and you can tweet and Facebook post at Dan Yorke Show. Here's an email that we got recently, real quick. Kevin says, Rhode Island's climate is not only bad, but worsening under the current political leadership that we send to Smith Hill. Oh. I know. Kev, run for office. It can be fixed. Glass half full. Let's go. How about them Flyers? See you tomorrow night on My State of Mind at 7:30.